Good morning, Douglasville. We're here today in Savannah, Georgia. Weather's great, climate's good, and we're glad to be here. And if you're wondering what we're doing in Savannah, let me tell you, we're here in Savannah attending the Georgia Municipal Association annual convention. And I might add, this is the 2013, this is the 80th annual convention for Georgia Municipal Association. Well, you may be asking yourself, what is GMA, which is what we affectionately call the Georgia Municipal Association. But let me tell you a little bit about GMA and what they do. GMA has over 500 member cities throughout this great state of Georgia, and we are one of those participating cities. As a matter of fact, we have been participating for over 50 years in this partnership with GMA in this annual convention that we're down here at this weekend. But you as the citizens and the taxpayers may be asking yourselves, what are my city officials doing in Savannah, Georgia? Well, we're going to try to help you understand that and give you a better understanding of how and why we're spending your taxpayer dollars to be down here at this annual convention. I'm going to introduce Mr. Norton to you here in just a minute. He and I were just talking, and we were discussing that this is a working meeting. This is a meeting where we work, we learn, and get better at doing your business as constituents. And as I said, the GMA membership consists of over 500 cities. And why is that important? There's a lot of things that GMA provides. They provide training. The training that GMA provides is through the University of Georgia in conjunction with the Carl Vinson Institute. They provide nationally recognized training on everything from finance to accounting. And I might add, finance and accounting is a little bit different when it comes to the government sector than it is in the private sector. So they offer the training as it relates to that. And then anything else from refuse collection to public safety. They also offer classes in insurance, risk management, all the things that we as a city are confronted with and the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis to do your business as the city of Douglasville. And we're very fortunate today. We have with us Mr. Lamar Norton. Mr. Norton has been the executive director for the Georgia Municipal Association for what now, Lamar, 12 years?
No, I've been here about 12 years, but I've only been the executive director the last 2 years.
The last 2 years, okay. Well, thank you. And I might add that Mr. Norton, Lamar, I'll call you today.
Please do.
And because I like to, for the camera, I was saying Mr. Norton, but Lamar is a friend. I've known Lamar for quite a number of years. He certainly is a friend to me personally, but also to the city of Douglasville and cities throughout the state of Georgia as being an advocate for you, the citizens of Douglasville, in the best interest of the cities around the state of Georgia. And at this time, as I said, I want to introduce Mr. Lamar Norton, the Executive Director for Georgia Municipal Association. Welcome. Glad to have you with us today. And if you would, Lamar, tell us a little bit about you and your experiences with GMA and what brings you to this point.
First of all, Mayor, thank you so much for this opportunity, and the kind folks in Douglasville allowed me to take just a few moments to speak to you about GMA. I came to GMA about 12, almost 13 years ago now, as their lead lobbyist, and we're trying to look at, okay, what are the city issues? How do we address them at the state legislature? And then how do we get involved in the federal legislation that might involve or impact cities across the state? I found that GMA is all about making a better elected official, about how do we make a better city employee, and then how do we protect that right that we have for our citizens, and how do we lower their tax bill.
Great, thank you. And I guess one of the key things you said there was, how do you help make us better elected officials so that we can better represent our cities back home? And if you would, give us some examples of the benefits that GMA provides, and how do you work to help make us better elected officials for our citizens back home?
Thank you, Harvey. The thing that we think we do best is that we partner with the Carl Vinson Institute, as you said earlier, to do training. We're trying to put in front of our elected officials and our professional employees within our city the kind of things they need, whether it's municipal law, how to run a meeting, conflict resolution, How do we do open meetings?
There's
open
none of
records?
that between city governments at any time, is there?
Occasionally in some cities, but not in Douglasville.
There you go.
But in some cities we have a little bit of friction from time to time. And how do we overcome that and still protect the citizen?
Right.
It is not. I don't feel like it's the city's right to abuse the power they have and to make it better for our constituents, our citizens. And like I said earlier, how do we lower that tax bill? And if we can help in that situation, that's what we do. We were put together in 1933 by 5 gentlemen. The mayor of Atlanta was one of those. And they said, we aren't getting anywhere with the legislature. We need to be able to speak as one voice. And at the time, it was only 5 cities. And then it grew very quickly to 53 cities, and then to 65 cities. And now we've got 519. And what we try to do is speak with one voice. This is what cities need. This is what our mayor needs. This is what our city council needs, what our professional manager needs, what our finance officer needs. We want to be that agency that can help provide that. And we get great feedback from our conference about, okay, you covered this. Now next year, please cover a couple of other items for us because it comes up more frequently. And I haven't met anyone yet in elected office or in a professional staff that wasn't concerned about their taxpayer. And they want to do the best job they possibly can. And I know that's true in Douglasville.
And it is, and I might add, I've only been the mayor in Douglasville for a year and a half now, but I was on the council back from 89 to 95, and you're probably doing the math and saying he doesn't look old enough for that.
Absolutely. Neither of us do.
You're very kind. But no, I have been very heavily involved in the city and county politics and helping make our community a better community for the better part of 25 years. And as a result of that, I have a history with GMA, know and understand the great job that y'all do to help make cities better, help make us better elected officials so that we then can better govern and get the best for our cities and our constituents back home. One of the things you mentioned was legislation and under the Gold Dome. If you could just touch briefly on that, about some of the legislative issues that GMA's looked at and worked with the legislators on in forming that one opinion to be able to take to the legislature.
Thank you, sir. One of the more recent things that we've had is cell towers. As you know, cell phones and wireless communications have been very, very key to the success of Georgia and to other states. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're in the loop when someone wants to locate a cell tower. We really don't want it in certain subdivisions or certain parts of the city or to disrupt anybody's lives or anything like that. And so we're constantly working with the business community to try to identify what should be the rules and the regulations, and also with the Georgia legislature on what actually we can do to prevent people from being unhappy.
Right.
We want to provide that service, but let us do it. Broadband is another issue. We think broadband, Wi-Fi, high-speed internet is absolutely essential to the state of Georgia in order for us to grow as a community and as a state and to create jobs.
Right.
Everybody demands it these days. Well, what we've got to do is make sure that's accessible to everyone across the state. If I'm providing that service, I should be able to provide that same quality of service regardless of the size of the community. It's not always profitable for that company, so how do we help them get profitable so that they can actually serve our state? A couple of the legislative issues. We're always involved with revenue and taxes. We are
taxes. That's a very sensitive issue to our homeowners back home.
It will catch the attention of every voter out there,
right.
I hope, because everybody should be involved and should be paying attention to the revenue streams, whether it's property taxes, whether it's sales tax. How do we make the most of every dollar that they entrust us with? I know y'all do a terrific job in Douglasville with that. I see your budgets. I think you're very transparent about what you're doing, and that's the legislature watches that as well.
Right.
They want to see that our cities are intent on doing it right. That's what GMA is about as well. How do we make our cities just significant, and how do we get people to trust us that we're taking care of their dollars and trying to provide them with service that they can use?
Right. And I think what you were talking about there is that transparency and being good stewards of what the citizens entrust us with, because it is about stewardship, because the monies and the assets that we're entrusted with are not ours. They belong to our citizens and our constituents back home, and it's incumbent on us to be good stewards of those resources. But the way that you become good stewards of that is through training and knowledge and drawing from the experience that y'all have and so many other of our peers that we come in contact with at an annual convention such as this?
Yes, sir. What we do, we've got a staff of about 90 people at GMA. What we do, we try to interact with either the elected official or the professional staffs of cities to say, okay, what are you doing? How do we trade best practices throughout the day so that we can share it with other cities? This is a perfect example. We're not here to play golf. We're not here to play tennis. We're here to do training. We're here to do policy meetings where we look at what the legislature is doing, not doing. How do we get them to help us? How do we educate them on what we're trying to do, and so that we all live a little better? We're in the exhibit hall today as we shoot this, and we're here working with people that like to work with cities.
Right.
We're trying to get to know those people who bid on our jobs, who want to be the providers of those services. And that's what our staff tries to do at GMA, is to work with the city staff so that we make it better.
And what you're talking about there, Lamar, is partnering, building relationships.
Great word.
And people working together to get the best job done for the cities across the state of Georgia. And that's something that I stress and talk about, is the continuing relationship that we have with GMA and what GMA brings to the party to help us be a better city, to grow, but be fiscally and financially responsible to our citizens back home who are paying the bills.
Harvey, that's one of the reasons I really wanted you on our board of directors. Our board of directors is part of our leadership group that says this is the direction. They're the oversight. They're the conscience of our organization. And so I appreciate your role and your being active in GMA and wanting to be a part of what we're doing, because it takes people with a good conscience and a dedication to making sure their citizens are protected. That's what we're about. That's what Douglasville's about.
Well, thank you, Lamar, and I certainly appreciate those kind words. And when we first started talking about it, I told you that, I don't really have any, I guess what you'd say, political aspirations other than serving the community and serving at whatever capacity I can with GMA to help Douglasville as well as the cities across Georgia. But the way that we're best able to do that is working together, having one voice at the Gold Dome, and then drawing from the knowledge and the experience that GMA has through your staff and the contact that you have with cities across Georgia. And when you talk about integrity, that's what it's all about, is integrity, because we have a responsibility to maintain the trust of the people that put us in office to see that their job is done correctly. And it's their job that we're elected to do, not ours. So we really appreciate what GMA is doing with that. Just as we get ready to close, could you give me a little bit on the GMA convention that this year and some of the training and some of the things that may be a little different? I know one of the things with the new financial and accounting rules that are changing, that's a big buzzword. Also with the health insurance requirements, those are things that GMA is helping cities like Douglasville all across the state to get up to speed with. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yes, Harvey. Thank you. The Friday afternoon we had a long session that was well attended by a lot of our members, and we talked about retirement plans. I hear people all the time say, "Well, defined benefit plans are no good. We shouldn't have those." We're talking about dedicated employees, whether they're picking up your garbage, repairing your water line, or whether they're cleaning out your sewer, that belong to this retirement system. We're talking about the average guy. And what we're trying to do is make sure that they have a retirement when they, at the end of the day, when they said, okay, I've worked as long as I can work. And the accounting standards that have changed says it's much like your mortgage. You've got a 30-year mortgage on your house. The accounting rules say you're gonna put that 30-year mortgage now on your annual statement. Every year we're going to show the entire debt, the interest, everything. It's a little bit unfair in my mind, but what we'll have to do is show all of our debt for our retirement system in 1 year. Although it is expanded over 40 to 50 years, it has to be shown. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that everyone understands. Just because Douglasville's got a retirement plan doesn't mean Douglasville's broke, doesn't mean Douglasville's got a large amount of money. It means this is our obligation over an extended period of time, and we're going to account for that. And unfortunately, we'll have to account for it in 1 year. And then next year we'll account for it again, and so on and so forth. Those accounting rules are very, very tough and very different for us, but we will make it. We will get through this thing. You mentioned health care, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because that's another tough issue. We've been struggling for the last 3 years. It's hard to believe that the Health Care Act is 3 years old.
It's here.
And it's here. And what we've got to do is how do we live with this, and how do we provide health insurance to the population that make up the employees of the cities around the state. Of the 519 members, about 60% of them are less than 5,000 population. And those folks are just as hardworking as everybody else. And what they're trying to do is, how do we end up with insurance? Do we have to be subsidized? Do we subsidize them? And the questions are still there. We're trying to learn the answers. And in this part of this conference, we did 6.5 hours training yesterday. We had about 100 people in the room asking terrific questions. I think you were in that room.
I was.
And it was a good session. Hopefully we go back and we'll be able to analyze what we're doing, how our health care plan is good for us, what can we do with it. Do we become an exchange? Can we become an exchange? Do we subsidize? It's just a lot of unanswered questions, and we intend to get to the bottom of it, and we'll do that through GMA.
Good, good. Well, we really appreciate it. Like you say, there's a lot to governing. There's a lot of things that you need to learn, and that's what GMA is here to help us do. And we're here, down here, participating in this event. To my knowledge, nobody within the city of Douglasville and most of the other cities that I've talked to are playing golf or laying out by the pool or playing on the tennis courts. They're here working, learning, gaining knowledge so that they can then go back to their cities and better represent them. And you mentioned the thing with the employees, with health care. Certainly our citizens out there are extremely important. They're the ones that we're here representing, but they're the ones that we want to make sure that they get the best bang for their buck. But the thing that I keep saying over and over and over is the employees are the one that get that job done and do it for us. As a matter of fact, we have with us today, we have Kelly Hunter, who's our communications director. We have her staff, Steve Jones, Jason Post, and Chris Dixon. They're the ones that put all this together. The IT and the communications and all these cameras and all, that's way over my head. But we have great people that help us do that, and we're here not only to learn what we can do for the citizens, but also the employees, because the employees are the ones that get the job done. I, as an elected official, get to get up here, have the speeches, do the talking, interview some great individual like you who's doing us a great job, and we appreciate it, but they're the ones that get the job done. So today, in closing, I want to thank you for certainly your years of service to GMA and the cities across the state of Georgia. I want to thank you for working so well with us in the city of Douglasville, and we look forward to another 50 years of working together to advance Douglasville and the great cities around the state of Georgia. Lamar, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, and we look forward to the rest of this meeting. You have a great weekend.
I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Lamar.